tombstones, that last reminder for most lives that they once existed, often continue the status which someone had in life. The very poor may have a very plain and humble marker, if they have one at all, while the corpses of the wealthy lay beneath ostentatious spires of marble. They can be dangerous things too, having been frequently recorded as causing the deaths of people, often children. Charles Christo, a 7-year-old boy, was playing in a stonemason's yard in August 1895 at Rockhampton, Queensland. Somehow he managed to shift a huge tombstone weighing several hundredweight, which fell onto him. His head and chest were crushed, and death was immediate. A long hundredweight, also known as a quintal, is an old imperial measure equal to 112 pounds, or just under 51 kilograms. At the somewhat ghoulishly aptly named Kilmore Cemetery in Victoria, on the 18th of March 1909, the base of a gravestone was being hoisted into place by 2 workmen from Jaguar and Sons, monumental masons. Suddenly, one of the legs of the derrick being used gave way, and the 25 hundredweight stone fell onto 50-year-old marble polisher Charles Blackburn. One of the catch pins was embedded into his chest, making a hole 6 inches in diameter and piercing his heart, killing him instantly. Another boy met his fate in a stonemason's yard in June 1928, this time in Walsall, London. Frederick Benson was only 4.5 years old when he accidentally pulled a tombstone down on top of himself. A girl who was with him said the little boy had been trying to pull an ornamental angel off of the stone. In July 1928, an inquest heard that a stone cross weighing 8 stone had fallen from a grave onto the back of a 4-year-old girl named Marjorie Hindmarsh at Preston, Northumberland. She died 2 hours later of internal hemorrhage. While her aunt, Martha Blythe, said the girl had tripped and the cross had fallen, the superintendent of the cemetery said it was unlikely the cross would have fallen unless it had been touched. Harold Curry, aged 18, was showing a woman around the Wojtak cemetery in Victoria on the 7th of April 1939 when he had a sudden nosebleed. He stopped and sat down at the base of a granite memorial, 15 feet high. The woman continued to wander through the graveyard, but after a while called out to Harold and received no reply. She went back to where she had left him, only to find him dead, with the top of the tombstone, estimated to weigh 100 laying on his chest. It was never discovered if he had tried to climb the tombstone and it broke off, or whether it fell onto him as he sat against it. Harold had intended joining the Navy on the 1st of May. 2 people were killed by gravestones in the same month, during May 1950. William Erickson, 3 years old, was visiting the Lakeville Cemetery in Michigan with his mother on the 30th of May 1950, when a 300-pound tombstone toppled onto him, killing him instantly. A few days earlier in Vienna, Austria, a 75-year-old widow named Anna Neuhuber was tending to her husband's grave when she fell, dislodging the stone which crashed down on top of her. At Wark, Germany, was a particularly dangerous tombstone. In 1952 it fell over and badly injured a small boy. In August 1954 it fell again, but this time killed a young girl. After hearing of the girl's death, villagers went to the graveyard and secured other tombstones, which appeared may fall at any moment. A tombstone was involved in the death of 49-year-old Mrs. Annabelle Duncan of Moline, Illinois, on the 22nd of December 1954. She had gone to place a Christmas wreath on her mother's grave that day. As she and 2 others were pushing the family car to start it, she was caught between the vehicle and a tombstone and crushed to death. In May 1982, another young child, Caroline Harrop, aged 3, was placing flowers on her grandfather's grave at Bishop Auckland, Durham, when a falling tombstone took her life. An abandoned car was reported near a cemetery in Gatineau, Quebec, in October 2008. Police sought the owner in the cemetery and found the man had been killed by a fallen tombstone. Gerald Lacombe, 77, was digging near the tombstone of his parents in an effort to level the ground when he was hit on the head. The night after a boy turned 8, he was killed by a tombstone that fell on him in Tedestikovo, Slovakia, in July 2011. In June 2012, Peyton Townsend, a 4-year-old girl in North Carolina, was killed by a 1,200-pound cross, which fell on her as she played while waiting for a Bible study class to begin. Her 6-year-old sister suffered a slight leg injury. On the 5th of July 2012, Carson Dean Cheney, aged 4, was playing by a gravestone in Park City, Utah, when the 6-foot stone, erected in 1889, collapsed onto the boy, crushing him beneath its 250-pound weight. It took 3 men to pull the stone off the boy, who died soon after. Carson's family sought compensation for negligence on the part of the cemetery in 2015, but lost in court. A 64-year-old cemetery worker was killed by a tombstone weighing between 2,000 and 4,000 pounds, which fell on him in Edinburgh, Texas, in 2013, as he was trying to adjust it using a jack and a wooden plank. Every year at Easter, Stephen Wojtak and his wife would visit St. Joseph's Cemetery in Throop, New Jersey, to decorate a grave with a cross. In March 2015, the 74-year-old man was killed when his mother-in-law's grave fell on him as he tied the cross onto it. It was known that gravestones would shift following the spring thaw, and this was thought to have caused the fatality. Mr. Wojtak was to be buried in the same plot where he died. A tombstone erected in 1919 collapsed onto 4-year-old Levi Driver at Ector County Cemetery, Texas, on the 8th of May 2015. The boy had been visiting his grandmother's grave when the 500-pound stone fell. Just 3 weeks later, on the 27th of March 2015, Kieran Williamson was playing with 2 other 10-year-old friends at Craigton Cemetery, Glasgow, when the 8-year-old and the other boys jumped from a tree onto a tombstone. The stone wobbled and then fell, a triangular ornament on top hitting him in the face, knocking him unconscious. According to the least injured of the boys, Kieran bled from his mouth and eye and later died in hospital, while the other boy lost half of his foot. Yet another child died in 2015. 3-year-old Ana Mariela Gutierrez Gasca went with her mother to a cemetery in Juventino Rosas, Mexico, during the Day of the Dead commemorations in November. Mexican families visit the grave of relatives to tidy them up and leave fresh flowers, and sometimes offerings of food. The girl was climbing on a tombstone, which fell onto her chest. Part of a tombstone fell and killed an 8-year-old boy in December 2016 in Lynn, Arkansas, during a birthday party held at the adjoining church. Bella Grace Bennett was only 5 when she was killed by a 300-pound tombstone on the 30th of August 2021 in Blackshear, Georgia. On the 28th of October 2021, Elvira Navarro, 53, a mother of 5, was working with her son at the Baron Hirsch Cemetery on Staten Island, New York, cleaning up around a grave when a 2,000-pound tombstone fell onto her. She died in hospital the same day. As this roll call of tragedy evinces, even tombstones bear menace in the dark corners of history.